Welcome back to Life's the Beach, a mental and emotional health podcast. My name's Miranda and I'm your host. Today is all about self-care. I'm sure you've heard this buzzword and we've even used it on our show before as we share about how our employees are always pouring out themselves to meet the needs of our community. It can be really easy to neglect your own needs. Sometimes we don't even realize we've done that until we see the symptoms of stress and burnout. And far too often, we wait until there's a large health situation that gets our attention and we react to it instead of being proactive and taking care of our needs. Today's discussion is going to be on self-care. We're going to talk about what it really is, why it's so important, and what are the best practices and guidelines. I'm excited to have Kelly Fujimoto join me today. Kelly, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Kelly Fujimoto. I'm a nurse case manager with Optima Health, soon to be Centera Health Plans, and I serve on the case management team. I serve our members by offering them support, education, and care coordination, and assist them in achieving their healthcare goals.
Excellent. Thank you again so much for joining me. As I mentioned earlier, our episode today is about self-care, and this buzzword is used a lot in different marketing for well-being products, and it can mean so many different things. So I am curious right off the bat, what came to mind when I mentioned self-care?
Immediately for me, I think of getting enough sleep and taking an uninterrupted shower. As a mom of three, those are two self-care activities that are hard to come by.
Yeah, I bet. The first thing that comes to mind for me is a giant bubble bath with candles and just a really relaxing time. And while self-care can totally involve that, it is about your health. And I wanted to go ahead and read off from the National Institute of Health. They boil it down to taking time to do the things that help you live well and improve both your physical and mental health. When it comes to your mental health, self-care can help you manage stress, lower your risk of illness, and increase your energy. Even small acts of self-care in your daily life can have a big impact. And then their website goes on to list several examples of just that. And, I'm curious, in your role professionally, does this term come up at all, or how is it used?
Self-care is something that we support and encourage for our members, and how one defines self-care is going to be unique to them. Each of us knows what we need to feel better, take care of ourselves, and re-energize. And we explore this with our members to find out what motivates them to want to be well. This might look like being active, going for a walk, working out. It could be eating a nutritious meal or staying hydrated. It could also look like meditating, yoga, getting deep breathing exercises in daily, or it could look like hanging out with family and friends.
Yeah, so a lot of ways that you can practice self-care. Really, in the end, we all have a lot of the same basic needs, and it ultimately just means to take care of yourself. So I am curious, what are some of the reasons that people put off taking care of themselves and maybe put it on the back burner?
I think one reason people might not take care of themselves and engage in self-care is that they don't know how truly important it is for your overall health and well-being. Also, people tend to find creating new habits difficult. And most commonly in my experience, people voice that they just don't have time.
Oh yeah, time is a huge factor. You'll often hear that metaphor of an oxygen mask and how important it is for you to put on your own oxygen mask first, take care of yourself physically and mentally and emotionally, and then you'll be better able to help those around you in caring for them. It's not really an option. If you don't take care of yourself, you will not be effective in doing those things. So, what are some of the negative impacts that can happen if you don't prioritize your self-care?
If you don't practice self-care, you might feel tired, sluggish. You can feel less patient. You may also experience symptoms of depression. And self-care allows our body and our mind to regenerate. And over time, when you don't practice self-care, you can increase the risk of chronic conditions and health issues.
I love that part where you mentioned that self-care is regenerative. So going along with that, what are some of the positive impacts that self-care has on your mental and emotional well-being?
As you mentioned, the NIH tells us that self-care helps us to manage stress, lower the risk of illness, and increase our energy. And the American Academy of Family Physicians tells us that emotional health allows you to work productively and cope with the stresses of everyday life. It can help you realize your full potential. It also helps you communicate with other people and contribute to society. They also mention that your emotional health affects your physical health. Research shows a link between an upbeat mental state and physical signs of good health. These include lower blood pressure, reduced risk of heart disease, and a healthier weight. When self-care is part of our daily routine, it can help reduce the risk of chronic conditions. So when we allow ourselves time to engage in daily self-care, it can help us in our day-to-day activities, like on our way to work or school, dealing with traffic, or helping us to feel more energized to go for a walk.
Sign me up for all of that. Now that we've established, what self-care is, why it's important, do you have any best practices or guidelines you can share with us?
You can practice self-care in many ways, whether it's through physical activity, meditation, seeking therapy, eating a nutritious meal. I often recommend taking just a few minutes before bed to engage in some self-care, whether it's taking a shower or stretch, meditate, whatever it is, just a few minutes. And setting those realistic and attainable goals as a starting point will help us to be a lot more successful with our self-care practices. Then over time, you can gradually increase those habits to help achieve those goals.
So what I hear you saying is, little by little, we can incorporate self-care just a few minutes here and there into our day, knowing that you can have several needs at once that might need to be addressed. Maybe you need to put several self-care practices into place that can be kind of overwhelming. Is there anything you recommend as far as, prioritizing self-care, and how do you do that?
I think just dedicating the time, whether it's 5, 15, 30 minutes a day, really just for you. Listen to your body and what type of self-care it needs. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer when it comes to self-care. Just really giving yourself that time, and that is what is most important. A lot of people find success in setting an alarm at certain intervals, whether it's on your phone or your watch, to remind them to engage in self-care throughout the day.
Yeah, that's a good one. I know my watch buzzes every hour that I haven't really stood up. And I'm like, I know I need to get up and stretch, go for a walk or do something. It really is those little things that add up over time and make a big change. We did also ask our city and school employees if they would share with us some of their best practices on self-care. Let's go ahead and hear from them now.
Well, I have a lot of people that depend on me, my family, some very close friends, but also I have about 45 psychologists in my department that I'm one of 3 that help support. So in order to best support all the people that I take care of, I have to take care of me first.
Well, self-care is very important to me because as a person with a rare disorder, one of my triggers is stress. So I had to revamp the way I thought about things. I had to prioritize my health, most importantly, but I also had to find ways of finding joy. Going from doctor to doctor, it can be a little bleak. Losing friends from work because I'm home on disability working, I had to find ways to help myself up and stay healthy.
Prioritizing self-care is important to me because it boosts my self-esteem. I want to be recognized as a person who cares about my health and my professional demeanor. Set realistic goals, which includes doing exercises for at least 45 minutes every day. Create a routine. So I already have a set of established routine that I do every single week. Prioritizing my health, which is healthy habits of eating, sleeping, and having a physical activity.
I try to make sure that's well-rounded, taking care of myself physically, mentally, and emotionally. How I do that is just by getting plenty of rest, taking time to de-stress, cut off from electronics, just to be able to get away from all the negativity. Surround myself with a lot of positiveness, drinking lots of water, getting out and moving. Just try to do stuff that helps to keep me relaxed, but also to keep my mind clear from any clutter.
Well, I started self-care as a young, single, free person, right? But then when life happened and I became a mom, working and had all these different responsibilities, typically the self-care was just me staying awake long enough to put my little one to bed. But about 8 years ago, I really made a concerted effort to value self-care. And one of the things that I started was to dedicate one day. I put it on the calendar, and it's the same day every single month. And that way I was able to prioritize me. So it may be that I had a massage or get a facial. It could be more cost saving, where it could just be that I decide to splurge on gift cards that I received. So I may have breakfast out, lunch out, dinner out. It could be simply getting that new book from my favorite author from the library and saying, okay, today I'm going to do one of my all-day pajama reads. Over that time of me prioritizing that day, I learned that I had some hobbies, one which is gardening and flower farming. And now I raise butterflies. All that helps with self-care, but also documented to show that it reduces your stress levels. It does all the things that we need to have a good life. What's the biggest challenge for anyone? Procrastination. So it took a while for me, but I had to find a way to not make it a chore. So I prioritized it by putting it on paper. And then over the years, it became part of my phone. So it was always there.
Sometimes you feel like I just don't want to do anything. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to cook. I don't want to continue doing what I do because it takes a lot of work and it's a challenge. I always have to remind myself that there's always a positive outcome that is going to benefit my health. I feel productive. I feel good about myself every time I do something that I don't want to do, like exercising.
Another challenge was the guilt, right? If you're a mother, if you have obligations at church and home and spouse, you typically put yourself last. So another challenge was me not understanding the airport rule, which is to put the oxygen mask on yourself first so you can care for others.
Time management's not the best. Working 2 jobs, taking care of an elder mother with health issues can cause challenges for being able to put myself first because I have a tendency to put those that I care about first and then I forget about me. So it's very difficult. And also just being overly tired from working so much and doing so much that I forget to get the rest I need. So that makes it very difficult.
So once I was able to master those, to not feel guilty, to make sure that I demand the time by putting it on my calendar. Like I said, I've been practicing for 8 years. So it took a while for me to now have a dedicated self-care day every month without any regret or tinge of guilt.
Well, one of my favorite tools, and I'll be honest about this, but it's the mirror. If I see something that I don't like, and I know that I need to do something about it. And the way I take care of it is like, I remind myself that I need to continue eating healthy, or I need to continue doing my exercises. The other thing I use is my phone, because in my phone, I can track my activities. I can track my daily steps. I can track my workouts.
The calendar helps because if there is an appointment or someone says, hey, can you do this? I can say no and have a reason, right? Because it's already in my calendar as blocked off. So that was one tool.
And the other thing I use is the scale. I already know the range in which I feel the strongest and more efficient. So I use that as a parameter to understand where I am. Not necessarily because I'm overweight or underweight, but because there's a range that I already have that helps me.
Also, being a teacher and all the discounts also allow me to spoil myself at a discounted rate. So I love that too.
Probably the most fun I have is the challenges through the Virgin Pulse that I do with some of my coworkers throughout the district and the city, whether it's challenges for the most steps or challenges for who can have the best eating habit or drink the most water, or just being able to encourage each other to do better for ourselves and making sure that we prioritize ourselves.
And then also Virgin Pulse, because now I can put in reminders, and also it gives me other things to consider that I haven't with some of the journeys that we can select. It helps. So having that app on my phone, in addition to me prioritizing my calendar, really has helped me have self-care. Again, self-care doesn't have to be elaborate. And one of the tools that I really have found to be useful is just having a mindful moment. When you're like, oh my goodness, I have so many things to do just on an ordinary day. And you're like, how can I fit it in? Just having that app to remind me, hey, did you have your mindful moment? Or have your mindful moment. It helps to kind of recenter and make things easier to prioritize. Sometimes when we are very busy and overwhelmed, we tend to just scramble, and that just adds up to stress, and stress starts to affect both our mental health, and then later on it impairs our physical health. And as I said, as someone with a rare disorder, I have to be very mindful of that.
But then, being able to do fun activities like going fishing or doing crafts or reading a good book or just turning on the radio and dancing in a room, even if it's by myself, just to unwind.
Thank you for sharing your insight. Those were some great ideas on how to practice self-care and the tools that help you achieve it. I am curious, what are your favorite ways to practice self-care?
I like to practice self-care in the evenings after my kids have gone to bed. I'll usually shower and stretch. I like to do puzzles, Sudoku, or word search, maybe some time to meditate. I usually at least take a few minutes each day to practice some self-care for me.
Yeah, for me, I enjoy calling a friend or maybe during the workday going outside and getting a walk in on my lunch break. That does wonders for my mental and emotional health and physical health too. And my favorite ways to engage in self-care is just participating in all my hobbies. So I love to crochet, I love to read, and spending time with my family. Those all really fill up my cup. We touched on this a little bit through the episode, but self-care can just be taking care of yourself physically. Kelly, since you work with the case management team, can you tell us a little bit more about the support they offer employees to help take care of themselves?
I would love to. Optima Health provides a collection of award-winning programs to improve health. There are resources and videos that really focus on total well-being and adopting healthy lifestyle choices. These programs include information on meditation, reducing stress, smoking cessation, seeking therapy, activity and movement. We also have a group of case managers as nurses, social workers, and patient service coordinators to assist in individualized case management to assist you in achieving your health and wellness goals.
It's a lot of great information. Where can employees go to find this or to get connected with case management if they're on the city or school health plan?
You can find these resources and videos on our website at optimahealth.com/members under the health and wellbeing section. And if you're interested in individualized case management, you can call the number on the back of your insurance card and ask to speak with healthcare services.
Can dependents also access these resources?
Absolutely. Members and their dependents have access to individualized case management, and the videos and resources on optimahealth.com are free to our members and the community.
Well, thank you again, Kelly, for joining me. It's been great to dive into this topic and such a fun and important thing to discuss. Before we get into our resources today, was there anything that we forgot to mention or maybe some last parting thoughts that you want to leave us with?
Self-care is so essential to our overall health and well-being. And I hope that now knowing how important self-care truly is and how it can affect the way that we feel, the way we think, and the way we act, that our members will take some time today to engage in some self-care.
Oh, that's great. And the last thing I'll add is that self-care is not selfish. This is your permission. Hopefully this episode built a solid case for investing in yourself and making that a priority. If you need more permission, remember these encouraging words shared by city and school leadership back in May during Mental Health Awareness Month. You may have to do some trial and error to find out what works best for you. And while there's no one-size-fits-all solution, BeWell does offer a lot of great free tools that are there to help support you in your self-care journey. Virgin Pulse is a great tool for checking in daily to track how you're doing with healthy habits, such as getting enough rest each night, drinking water, and getting in some steps during the day. Journeys are also a great tool for learning how to better meet your needs. For example, I recently completed a journey called Recognizing and Overcoming Burnout, which provided great suggestions on how to practice self-care in each area of well-being, physical, social, mental, and spiritual, to avoid burnout and build resiliency. If you need support to help you quit smoking, Quit for Life is available at no cost. If you need support with developing healthy eating habits that will lead to better managing your weight, Wonder is a great tool.
In addition to today's discussion, here are some resources available for city and school employees. If you or someone you know is in crisis, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988 and speak with a skilled, trained counselor at a crisis center in your area anytime 24/7. Virginia Beach city and school employees are encouraged to contact their Employee Assistance Program through Centera EAP for short-term counseling and a wide array of work-life services that can help you balance the many tasks you may have. Call them anytime 24/7 for urgent matters at 757-363-6777 or 1-800-899-8174. Or you may call during business hours Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. if you'd like to schedule an appointment for EAP counseling. Visit their website, centeraeap.com, company username, Virginia Beach. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Life's a Beach, a forum for VB city and school staff to hear and participate in everyday discussions about how we're thinking, feeling, and doing. Speaking of city and school staff, we'd love to hear from you. Please fill out our mental and emotional health topics survey and tell us what you want to hear about in the future. You'll find the link in the description for this episode. And please remember to like this episode and subscribe to our VB Benefits YouTube channel. Just click that button. You can do it. We believe in you.